Ladies and ladies and gentlemen, we're at the point in the NFL season that we're about halfway through. 100% there should be an MVP candidate or a couple of them that are in the forefront. But this year, the year of 2021, second year of COVID, it seems like no one, and I mean no one, in the NFL actually wants to win the MVP the MVP award this year. Usually you'll get, someone who gets hot, and like last year, for example, Russell Wilson through probably the first 8 weeks of the season was the clear-cut runaway winner of the MVP, and then he hit a lull, and Patrick Mahomes came in, and then Aaron Rodgers with the fantastic year that he had and the amount of primetime games was able to just come in and swoop in at the last minute. But it was pretty much a three-horse race. It was Russell for the early half of the year, and then it was Patrick Mahomes, and then Aaron Rodgers. This year, it's all over the place. And I looked at the odds, and I was, as a bettor, I was on Aaron Rodgers preseason last year, but even down the stretch on my YouTube channel, you could find the videos where for probably 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I was telling people, Aaron Rodgers is a pretty good bet at plus 1,000, plus 800, whatever it was. Kat, you're gonna come over here right now. I was telling Aaron Rodgers, or people, I was making videos saying Aaron Rodgers is probably the safest bet because he's statistically one of the best, but also has a bunch of primetime games left. This year, honestly, my preseason bet was Kyler Murray. I obviously think that's going decently. Him not playing the last couple of weeks kind of stinks, but I do believe he has put up a good resume, and honestly, him being out might have done him more good than him not playing, because some of the guys that were also front runners kind of stunk the 2 weeks that he hasn't been there. But I decided to go on my favorite sports book, Fanduel, and check the MVP odds today because I haven't checked them in a while. I'm always looking for a guy who has good stats, some primetime games coming up, and that can really make a jump with decent odds at this point in the year. I looked at the odds. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. I definitely don't agree with them, and I'm going to go through who I believe the top 5 are and what the odds according to FanDuel say. So without further ado, I got that point right. Perfect. So my number 5, like in terms of who I believe is the 5th best candidate to win the MVP. Hopefully I don't mess this hotkey up. But I got the guy from quarterback out there in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. Granted, last Thursday they did lose to the Miami Dolphins, but if you take Lamar Jackson off that team, statistically pretty good. I mean, obviously his passing numbers aren't up there with some of the top guys in terms of yardage and all that stuff, but his rushing clearly makes up for that. Currently, he's sitting at plus 1,200, which I believe is a decent bet to put in because he can get hot coming down the stretch, and he could easily overtake some of the guys above him for the MVP by the end of the year. But I do think Lamar Jackson is fantastic. I think if you take him off that team kind of stinks. To be honest with you, I can't tell you who their backup is, but I think Lamar, in terms of the name, most valuable player, definitely fits the bill, because if you take him off that team, their defense isn't great. They show flashes, but not great. They have decent weapons, not great weapons. Marquise Brown can get behind the defense, but every now and again he just can't catch the ball. Mark Andrews, I believe, is a top 5, 3-ish tight end, but and Rashad Bateman, rookie receiver, I think he's going to be good down the stretch. I think he's going to be good as he progresses through his career, but Lamar makes that situation run, and if you take him off, I don't think it's great. FanDuel, 5th best odds to win the MVP. They got my guy. I'm a Packers fan. They got Aaron Rodgers, which, again, he's another guy. Last week he didn't look great coming off of COVID, his first game back. Missed the week before that because of COVID. And honestly, the way some of these guys really played that are above him, I don't really think it hurt him that much. But he's at plus 1,000. For me, it's decent odds, but also not really sure if the the voters are going to give it. And I know I have this cough. I promise it's not COVID like Aaron. But I feel like the MVP voters probably just aren't going to vote for Aaron Rodgers. So decent odds if he didn't go through that whole situation where he lied about things. But fifth best odds to win according to my favorite sportsbook, Fanduel. My fourth guy to win MVP is actually said guy that I just talked about right now, which, again, for everything I just said, I don't think he's actually going to win the MVP again back to back. That'd be pretty impressive. That'd be his fourth, but I don't think he's going to win because of everything I just said. But he's having another good year. Had an off week. Couldn't really get it going. Missed a couple passes, but again, when you talk about Aaron Rodgers, it's Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. They have a decent running game. Their defense is really kind of fueling that team. But, if teams can take away Devontae Adams, like Aaron Rodgers is kind of screwed. Because the other guys, again, as a Packers fan, I watch it, wanted them to get Odell Beckham, would have took Deshaun Jackson, would have took all these guys. But they don't really surround him with weapons. Even, you can talk about, Robert Tunyon's out. Robert Tunyon is an okay tight end. He's not a great tight end. It's not like he had Travis Kelce, George Kittle. Robert Tunyon's not that. He might go to tight end U, but he's not that guy. Devontae Adams, probably the best receiver, if not the best. One of the three best receivers in the NFL. His route running, he's probably the best. But outside of that, Aaron Rodgers don't really have much. Aaron Jones is great. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. A.J. Dillon shows, despite what I thought when it happened last year, has shown to be a good draft pick, and granted, he looks a lot better than he did last year as a rookie. His pass catching ability has taken a step up, which is something he didn't have coming out of college. So probably why I didn't like the pick. Their first round pick still stunk. Jordan Love, still a terrible pick. Proved it against Kansas City. Hopefully he could still get it together. But Aaron Rodgers, man, he does more with less than anyone that's going to be in this MVP race that's up there. He does literally more with less. But that's it. And then on FanDuel side, they have Matt Stafford. That's kind of tough to read now that I'm looking at it on my screen here. But that is let me try to make this a little bigger here. That is Matt Stafford. That is Matt Stafford plus 850. I don't like that at all. I don't think his odds, honest to God, should be that good. He's played pretty poorly the last two games. He's been struggling a little bit against the Titans. He had those back-to-back pick sixes. He did not look particularly good on Monday night against the 49ers, so I don't know how he's got the fourth best odds, but that's what I'm saying. It's all over the place. Guys that are looked at, like when the Rams beat the Bucks, beat the brakes off the Bucks, like Matt Stafford, the guy. Just no one has been able. The people that have been looked at, like the top-notch cream of the crop MVP contenders, have all had not just one but multiple poor games where they've lost to bad teams. So Stafford fourth plus 850, not something I'm trying to bet on. But definitely better odds than some of the people ahead of him. So for my number three, as of right now, MVP voting, nope, that's not. That's FanDuel. I'll leave it up there. FanDuel's got Dak Prescott. Me, I got Tom Brady. And again, he's another guy. Statistically, you look, 20-some touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I think he leads the league in yards. Granted, when they get down to the red zone, a lot of teams run the ball. He does play action. Tom Brady gets a bunch of 2-yard touchdown passes. Stats are a little inflated that way. But he did not look particularly good against the Washington football team. Definitely not Brady-like. And you could say whatever you want. Yes, I know the Washington football team had that 10-minute drive to pretty much ice the game. Brady got the ball back with under a minute left with no timeouts. But Tom Brady probably shouldn't have been in that position against the Washington football team because despite what you may have thought going into the season, they're not that good. But the week before that, who'd they play? I'm trying to think. Against the Saints. So they had a bye. So they played Washington, lost to them. The week before that, they had a bye. Tom Brady did not look good, obviously, against Washington. And then if you ask me, I believe he was the reason that they lost against the Saints. Like, he played that badly down the stretch. He had a pick, and then I think his last drive, ended with a sack, maybe a sack fumble, but he played very, very poorly against the Saints again, who lost Jameis Winston that game, starting quarterback, and got beat by Trevor Siemian. So, again, he's up there, and by default, because everyone else that's also up there is either missing games or playing poorly. So he's third in my eyes, and then obviously I messed it up. I messed my hotkeys up, and according to Fanduel, it's Dak Prescott, which again, he's out, missed one game. Cooper Rush filled in. They beat Minnesota, came back. They got blown out by the Broncos. Dak looked terrible. Salvaged it statistically in garbage time, but before garbage time was awful. Maybe the worst quarterback that week. And again, stats will look decent because in the last 5 minutes, garbage time, when the Broncos were beating them by 30, he was able to get a couple touchdowns in, but Dak looked very, very bad in that game. Comes out this week, looks very, very good. That's why he's number 3 FanDuel. Again, plus 700 for Dak. He really only had that one bad game, but he did miss a game. Probably not bad odds. He would be one that I would consider because plus 700 is still decent, and he's got a good shot. But here, this portion of the season, I'm looking for someone at plus 1,000 or better that has some primetime games left and possibly some big-time matchups, and that I know has an offense that's humming. Dak Prescott, I mean, they're getting Michael Gallup back soon. CeeDee Lamb's great. Obviously, Amari Cooper is fantastic. Zeke's playing decent time to time. Like, they have weapons all over the joint, so it's not an issue really with him. So he's going to be able to put up the numbers. And if he gets to prime-time games coming down the stretch, which I didn't look at the schedule, not a bad play at plus 700. My number 2 guy, MVP, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, and this is literally, again, granted, I said it. I bet him preseason. Preseason, I think the odds were like plus 2,300. Put money on Kyler Murray because put money on Kyler Murray last year as well. And again, he was playing on an MVP level last year before he got hurt, before he hurt his shoulder, and then he just didn't look right the rest of the year. Couldn't really throw the ball like he was earlier on in the year. But Kyler Murray's missed the last 2 games, and honestly might miss a third game because the Cardinals, after this week, they have a bye. But again, home field advantage is kind of important. They had the 1 seed when the Packers lost to the Chiefs, and then they lost this week. Colt McCoy could not get the job done. He actually looked very, very bad, and they lost. The Packers won, so now the Packers have the 1 seed. Like, that's going to be important. You want to have home field advantage as long as you can in the playoffs, especially the NFC. I mean, you're going to have to play Dallas, LA, Green Bay, Tampa. Like, you want to play them in your stadium, so I think Kyler might play this week. But if not, if they feel comfortable with McCoy, he might miss a 3rd straight game and then come back after the bye. I hope that's not, because if he misses a 3rd straight game, he's probably, unless he throws 400 yards a game when he comes back, he's probably done in the MVP. And as someone who put money on him and wants to win money, I don't want that. So, but before he got hurt, he's been playing fantastic all year. Again, another team with an embarrassment of riches. Also, while Kyler Murray's been out, DeAndre Hopkins hasn't been playing, but Rondale Moore, I wish they would figure out better ways to use him and get him more involved because he's dynamic. Obviously, Christian Kirk, AJ Green flashes every now and again. Like, they have weapons everywhere. Chase Edmonds when he's in there out of the backfield. James Conner just running up the middle. So Kyler Murray's in a great offense. He can obviously put up numbers, and if he comes back, again, get some primetime games, get some big wins, he's going to be in a position to kind of have those statement games because they're a good football team. He'll have to play the Rams. He'll have to play, the Niners again. He'll have to play the Seahawks. Even despite what those teams' records are, those are still marquee matchups, NFC West matchups that'll be primetime games, especially if those teams can kind of start to figure it out and get on a winning streak. But Kyler Murray, for me, is my number 2, and he was number 1 for me up until he missed the last 2 weeks, honestly. FanDuel's got Tom Brady. I'm going to be honest with you. Statistically, yeah, he's up there, but to me, Tom Brady just doesn't scream MVP right now at plus 320. No shot. I'm putting money on Tom Brady at plus 320 halfway through the season because he might have a bad game or someone might have a good game, and you might be able to get Tom Brady, who does have a really good chance of winning the MVP, but you could probably get him at better odds, more favorable odds. Plus 320 is like someone who's a favorite. I mean, coming down the stretch last year, like the last 4 weeks of the season, Mahomes was around plus 200, plus 1, and like that was it was almost like a foregone conclusion. There were only 2 guys in the running. There's still a bunch of guys in the running, so I think the fact that it's plus 320, those odds are just way too low and way too favory. And I think at some point you might be able to get Brady if you really like him at better odds. So I wouldn't put money on him now, but according to Fanduel, he's the number 2 in the MVP race. I got him at number 3, and then number 1 for me, Josh Allen. And honest to God, me and Fanduel agree. Granted, another guy who it's not like I'm not sold on. So if you look at Fanduel, if you look at their odds, they have him at plus 200. Again, that screams to me like kind of runaway favorite. Obviously, Brady's pretty close, but Josh Allen's plus 200. Tom Brady's plus 320, and then the next guy is Dak at plus 7, Matt Stafford at plus 850, Rodgers plus 1,000, Lamar's plus 1,200. It's not on there, but like I don't think the gap is that wide between all these guys. Like Josh Allen 2 weeks ago lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, didn't have a touchdown. Granted, he came back, put an absolute beat down. The Bills absolutely smoked Mike White, who threw 4 interceptions. And, the Jets stink, though. So am I really sold on Josh Allen after that? I love Josh Allen. Big-time Josh Allen fan. But at plus 200, there's not a shot in the world that I would bet Josh Allen right now, Week 10, plus 200. Because, again, another guy, he has one bad game. He might fall to plus 500. And, again, depending on the amount of primetime games he has left down the stretch, the amount of statements that he can make, you might get him at a better clip. So, Josh Allen, I do believe he's the MVP favorite, but I would not bet him at plus 200 right now. That's just me. Do what you want out there. My FanDuel account has been getting smoked because I'm not a lot of upsets, but like I wouldn't agree to me, but I mean, I did put a preseason bet in on Aaron Rodgers and did, get him at plus 20 at 26 to 1 odds and won. So MVP, I feel like season awards I'm pretty good at. But again, Josh Allen, I can't see too many people betting on him at 200 because I don't think he's like head and shoulders above everyone else where no one can catch up to him. That's just me though.